Well, I remember it like it was yesterday. I try not to think about it. But the funny thing is, I think about it all the time anyway. So I learned I might as well face it. I learned to face it. We were on our way home from visiting my partner's family. I was tired. I was just thinking about getting home. I was coming around a curve in the road, and when I came around the curve, there was a car in my lane. I heard a huge noise. There must have been a crash, but the funny thing is that's all I really remember. I guess the airbag went off because I broke my wrist. I remember how much it hurt in the emergency room, but that's my first real clear memory. I don't even remember the ambulance. Anyway, I had months of therapy for my wrist, and when that was over, I thought it was all over. But even months after that, I couldn't get it out of my head. I would see that car coming right for me. I felt tense and irritated all the time. I started to drink. It was beer mainly, but it's too much. Sometimes I would even hear what I was saying, in my head, and I couldn't understand, even myself, why I was being so mean to people. One day, my partner told me he was going to leave me if I didn't get some help. Well, that got my attention. But I was still afraid that if people knew that I had to see somebody, they might think I was really going crazy. But at this point, I just needed some help. So I went to see my regular doctor, and she referred me to a specialist. So I told that doctor about it, and he said I had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. At first, I couldn't believe it. I thought that was something soldiers got in a war, but then I was angry. I couldn't believe it. Then I was angry all over again that this had happened to me. But, finally I knew I just needed some help. And so this counselor told me about treatments that might make me feel better. I could do therapy that focused right on the accident itself, either in group sessions or individual sessions. She called this trauma-focused therapy. She also talked to me about support groups or counseling to help me handle things better in my day-to-day life. Now, before the accident, I handled things just fine, so I didn't think that was a problem. But I'll be honest with you, it was all really hard. I was already thinking about it too much when I didn't want to, and everybody told me I should just get over it. And I really just wanted to get over it myself. But I knew I couldn't do this on my own. The counselor, she talked to me about also seeing a psychiatrist for some medication that might help without being addicting. Well, I was really determined to get over this, so I decided to take the medication and do the therapy. But I felt like I was leaping into the unknown. In the individual sessions, it was really hard to talk about the accident itself, but I stuck with it. It felt totally wrong to reverse how I thought. I wanted to avoid everything that reminded me of the accident. But the therapist, she encouraged me to do things that I'd been avoiding in my day-to-day life, like driving to new places or even seeing a movie if it had a car wreck in it. I was afraid I'd panic, but the counselor, she reassured me that the feelings would get a lot less intense over time if I just faced my fears. She was pretty good. She was good. She gave me information about how I might expect to react, and she set a pace in the therapy, that I could handle. And, the funny thing is, my feelings about the accident, they really have changed. Now when I think about it or I see something on TV, I'm not overwhelmed by fear or the need to get away from it. I was afraid that the medication would change my personality, but it's really just helped me be less tense and less irritable. I actually feel more like my old self. I'm not snapping at my coworkers. I can actually concentrate at work. And when I drive, I don't have that panic surge. Last weekend, we went to the beach. I never could have done that months ago. Now, it hasn't been totally smooth. If I'm in my car and somebody cuts me off, or even if I hear a really loud noise, it'll get me going. But now, I know it's not just me just going crazy. There's a way to handle it, and I can handle it. I can get back in my car the next day, and I can do the things I need to do. Just ordinary things, just day-to-day things. It's kind of like having your life back.